So this institutional distance between these two cities that will collaborate in shaping their own future. As we enter, and this is the place where the river, as I showed you, enters into San Diego. So in Tijuana, the river is a concrete channel, and when it pierces the wall separates, and then the river enters into San Diego, the concrete disappears, and the estuary becomes a natural estuary. If we were to take a field trip, which could be one of the programs we can join, organize together, these field trips across the border, which I really enjoy doing, this is one official stop, to really see this collision. There's no other place where that conflict across ecologies is physicalized in such a way. So the conflict between the river and the border, the conflict between informal and natural ecologies, as also the slums in the periphery of Tijuana are encroaching into these natural systems, the conflict between factories and emergency housing, as you know, how these slums are surrounded by maquiladoras, and the conflict between density and sprawl, as I was showing earlier, in the shape of this social housing in Tijuana developed by, in the shape of American subdivisions, but in miniature, the conflict between the natural and the political at the other end of our section. At that place that has been paradigmatic in my mind, where the wall sinks into the Pacific Ocean, right? This sort of mama of all conflicts, right? This is at the center, I think, of our own debate at this moment. The conflict between political, arbitrary boundaries and the social and natural systems that are precluded by them. So this conflict between the natural and the political, that's the image that I photo-documented in a huge 90 feet long image juxtaposed by that horizon of conflict, suggesting that architecture practice should reposition itself in the midst of each of those conflicts. What produced them in the first place? Again, what produced the crisis in the first place? The conditions that produce the crisis become materials of design. A kind of forensics again, a kind of retro engineering in reverse, right, to understand the institutional stupidity that really enable these collisions. And at the end, the bookends of this cross-section is an issue that has been also in my mind for all these years. No other place in the world you find some of the wealthiest real estate, as the one found in Rancho Santa Fe, where the Pritzkers live, in fact, 20 miles away from some of the poorest settlements in Latin America. So this radical proximity of enclaves of wealth and the rings of poverty that surround them, serving as service communities, is really what is at stake in any global city. So this image was the installation that I was invited to produce in the 2008 Venice Biennale, and it is a narrative of these 60 linear miles of transborder conflict. It was a translucent filter into the exhibition, which really foregrounded a series of practices across the US that were really using conflict as a creative tool, as a kind of operational tool. The visualization of conflict across these cities, on one hand, dealing with the strategies, of course, of the informal within the slums and the discriminated politics of zone. Two different suburbias, very close to each other. And for me, it's been essential to also observe, and I think that this is part of the work that has been known in a way, but I don't know how many of you are, maybe don't know too much about my work, so that's the reason I decided to give you a little mini best hits, okay, just to kind of create an ambience. Of course, the wall exists there only to be transgressed. This is what an artist friend of mine said. The transgression of our own conventions and institutional protocols. And the invisibility of flows across this formidable barrier, right? I mean, this is the project, the invisibility of many of the transactions, socially and environmentally, that are precluded by this wall. Economically, of course. On one hand, in one direction, people going north, but also one very essential to me is the waste that flows southbound, as Tijuana retrofits itself with the waste of San Diego in the shape of many different systems. The small bungalows, the small post-war bungalows that are transferred from one city to another. So not only people cross the border, but entire pieces of infrastructure from one environment to another. So when these houses enter into Tijuana, they are put on top of these metal frames, leaving the first floor to become the second, to be injected with more program. A kind of club sandwich of urbanization, as I call it, this fearless sort of approximation of opposites and the layering of kind of, again, programmatic socioeconomic contingencies is an incredible thing to witness. But also the parts, the kind of debris of one environment to another, where the tires, and you've seen this before, how the tires are used for retaining walls, but look at what people have been developing in the last years out of truly socio-economic emergency, how to inventively peel off a tire, clip it, loop it into stitch it in the sense in a more functional system. Kind of I'm interested in this sort of the operational systems behind images, okay, the kind of processes behind them. The garage doors, of course, that are imported en masse into Tijuana to produce social housing in many of these environments of emergency. But this is where I get in trouble because I go, you are romanticizing poverty. You are, this is about what are you trying to do? This bricolage aesthetic. I wanted to say it, and I will say it very plainly. While I cannot deny the beauty of these images in a sense, but what I'm interested is in the kind of the procedures, the socio-economic procedures behind these images. For example, one premise, one phenomenon that has been essential to witness is how the first ring of suburbanization of San Diego has begun to dismantle itself in the last 30, 40 years, and its debris travels 20 minutes south to reassemble itself in Tijuana. Okay, so this sort of recycling of Levittown into Tijuana's slum is an amazing phenomenon. I'm interested in understanding the political economy of waste behind that, and the institutions that are part of that procedure, of that process, the maquiladoras, the activists, the government, etc. So it is the political economy or the radicalization of those images what we need to translate, I think, as architects. I've been interested in kind of playing a role that in architecture there is the need for the interpreters that can translate somehow the kind of logics embedded in these transactions into new systems that might enable the re-engagement of the official city, right, the different approach. So the conflict that emerges from this is at times what really inspires my work is that while I understand the work from images, I want to also begin to identify conflict. That I want to open up and see who are like the project in Korea I showed, who really are the institutions engaged in that conflict. So in Tijuana, literally the conflict became one that I chose between factories and slums, realizing that many of these maquiladoras place themselves in the midst of these slums, borrowing cheap labor without giving anything in return. And one of the projects that has been ongoing and finally enabled recently by an alliance with this manufacturing of systems, producing a kind of detour. As an architect, I want to maybe go out and solve the problem, right? Build housing, as we were talking earlier, just as units to produce shelter. I want to really argue we need to go beyond shelter, and instead of going and solving the problem in the slum, let's go to the place where maybe the problem is at its base. In other words, the factories. So the project became one of encroaching into some of these factories, entering them into a negotiation to force some kind of level of accountability. The best one was this one, a Spanish maquiladora that produces these lightweight pallet rack systems. And its CEO was open to, I don't know if it was out of colonizers' guilt, okay, because, but to enable us to enter the maquiladora to begin thinking of how to retrofit nightly their own systems and material production. So we began to devise these small systems, very naive, but actually very functional in a sense as rubber tires, how to thread the waste and how to engage the kind of role of activism in the distribution of these systems, subsidies from the Tijuana government in order to produce a more stable, at times, a coherent kind of way of organizing private and public, of course, but these resources. Because the first thing that happens in the rainy season is the kind of washing away of some of these. But the precariousness is about, obviously, the need for some level of transitional infrastructure, okay, and a kind of acupunctural systems that can begin to reinforce what is there. So this project, without going too much in detail, really ultimately its inspiration is we began to think maybe there is another role for architects, and it is the designing of collaboration across institutions. Somebody has to curate the interface between the top-down and the bottom-up. And I think this is what really was and continues to be essential about this project. In the opposite direction, the flow of humans, of course, immigrants, the impact of immigrants in the transformation, and I should say the positive, if I was in Arizona, I would say the positive impact of immigrants in the transformation of the American neighborhood. And I'm interested in the narrativization of these stories of retrofit, of adaptation, in the shape of videos that there's no time right now to show, but to also the production of very simple visualizations. Another thing that I have been dissatisfied with urban design schools and so on, primarily architecture, I think, is this sort of complexity of this palimpsest of diagrams, which are essential in a way because finally we're trying to understand the force vectors, right, that construct the complexity of the territory, but we end up just complicating the message because it becomes just drawings for older architects. I was trying to imagine other ways of representation to enable activists and politicians that I'm in conversation with in San Diego. So this is the image of a trans-border land use map. Imagine that the most trafficked border in the world, not one single cross-border land use map exists. And whatever exists is just a lie in a way, because it does not really enable the kind of logic of these transactions. So I have to splice it very simply. To the north, the large chunks of color of San Diego's land use again, and to the south, the kind of high pixelation of land use in Tijuana, a bit more alternative, more stealth at times, more compacted and so on. If I had the time, I would show you also an image of a Google Earth image of how San Diego and Tijuana have grown in relationship to each other. It's amazing. San Diego, Tijuana might be this size, and San Diego is 5 times as larger. Same population. So it immediately shows two different attitudes in terms of the growth I was mentioning earlier. So my argument has been that this confetti, let's call it, of alternative uses, has begun to infiltrate itself into the largeness of Southern California land uses. And the positive, ultimately, this is back to this notion of from the abstraction to the specificity, right? When this hits the ground, it really begins to transform parcels in many of these the first remorse of urbanization neighborhoods. In the shape, of course, as many of you know, these temporal, again, socioeconomic contingencies, right? The garage being retrofitted into an informal economy, or the illegal construction of a granny flat to support an extended family and so on. So this is the issue that began to, again, suggest the neighborhood as a site of production. I'm interested in sort of opening up this tension, as the global city in the last years was really characterized by urbanisms of consumption particularly. It is the marginal neighborhood, many of these immigrant neighborhoods that remain out of emergency, I imagine, sites of cultural and social production. Because behind these transactions, we can enable other conceptions of many concepts I wanted to argue. Like this little house that actually saved itself because it was not brought to Tijuana out of that older neighborhood, but it was retrofitted 25 years ago into a Buddhist temple. In so doing, of course, this becomes now less of an abstract point for the planner on a 5,000 square feet parcel, but becomes an agency that negotiates resources, economy, and knowledge with the neighborhood. So here is again the notion of the informal as praxis, not as an image, not as an aesthetic, but as a praxis, because embedded in this socio-economic entrepreneurship, without sounding too neoliberal here for a moment, there is a logic that would enable other performance, other types of urbanisms of adaptation. I've been arguing through that image that the future of Southern California, obviously, depends on the pixelation of the large and the small. And this is not only about scale, but it's about the economy and other modes of social organization. So I'm thinking that citizenship here can be reconceived as a creative act that reorganizes institutional protocols and that, of course, reorganizes spatial organization. I think that it may seem obvious to you in this school, but the perpetuation of density as an abstract amount of units per acre needs to really be challenged. The rethinking of density, because this is really what has perpetuated, again, this urbanism in steroids, looking at housing as units. How do we rethink density? And my interest in working with many of these marginal neighborhoods in San Diego is to elevate the notion of density as an amount of social exchanges per acre. And of course, that would be, how do we represent that? This is a challenge for our own systems, but that is the interface that I was mentioning before. And urbanization beyond the property line. A story that has been essential in the context of this usually is very entertaining for younger people. I'm sure you are all young here, but even younger than you, is that not only immigrants are retrofitting the city, but also teenagers. And I found a story, I call this one the chronologies of an invasion, that gave me the excuse to actually narrativize another very simple map. Typical. Let's erase the city from the map and let's just leave the leftover vacant spaces, and I want to reproduce that archipelago of emptiness, because many of those spaces are not only physical, they have been produced, of course, by backward, stupid planning, where many of these environments are separated, whether through setbacks, easements, the kind of buffer zones, and so on. The most important one, and this is, I know, you know it here, whenever I ask this to other schools, they see me with a baffled expression, but paper streets, right? Paper streets are maybe the most compelling. I tell my art students that some of the richest conceptual material is in the code itself, because in the code we find these paper streets. As you know, these are streets that were never built, right? Or somewhere the planners in the 40s, whatever, 30s in San Diego, planning the new areas of the city, the abstraction of that grid that is produced over that table is brought to the reality of the topography, and all of a sudden when surveyors go there, they realize that they cannot build that street because it's too expensive. So the invisibility of these chunks of public infrastructure are everywhere in the city, and the only ones really taking advantage of these are developers, private developers, right? So there is a process, you call it street vacation, where a developer can, or a property owner can really apply for acquiring that invisible piece of land to be part now of private property. So there are paper freeways, like this one, that then environments left over. These are now the islands of that archipelago in more specificity. But these environments are surrounded by an amazing, equally invisible infrastructure of social organization, agencies, non-profit community-based practices, artist collectives, paper streets. I began to begin to suggest that the relationship of the physical or the formal and the social really was at stake here, and that we as architects could act in a sense as kind of cultural pimps, if you can call it, and producing new relationships across these invisible entities, right? The Artist Youth Collective, the paper streets, the informal trace, and the elementary school that is against that canyon. This is a case of these, many canyons in San Diego, I don't know here, but it seems like many elementary schools are against canyons, and all we can do is put a chain link fence between the canyon and the school and so on. So the design of the interface, once more, is really what is at stake here, and I think that is an act of tactical reorganization of resources and institutional protocols. The story has to do with this group of teenagers in one of those islands near my house. That's the reason I came across this story. Who one day, it's typical island in freeway neighborhood, the kind of gap, and I found that these teenagers, and I interviewed them later, years later, after this happened, they told me one night we organized ourselves. And we were so pissed that there was no skateboard park in San Diego that was viable, that was really open to us. We went to Home Depot, bought shovels, and we invaded this underpass. Right? This is now, when I went to the municipality to find out how the municipality represents that no man's land, it's exactly the drawing they gave us. So this is more accurate now of the island. Okay, so I'm saying this because our students, you can begin a project with an intuition. And then that intuition evolves into a project of research that gives it accuracy and so on. When I got to that process, sorry, I have to turn this off. The teenage, sorry, I'm going to pass it. I wanted to share many of these gestures or traces. The teenagers told me something that my students have never told me, not even myself at some point. They said that the first thing they had to do, because they were stopped, I forgot to mention, they were stopped by the police 2 weeks later. The police barricaded the place because they began to, they had already mounds and with dirt, and they barricaded the place. The teenagers decided to organize further and really fight back. The first thing they did, they told me, was to understand the political jurisdiction of that environment. Whose territory is this? They said that they had been lucky because they had begun digging on the Caltrans territory, because if they had, what would have happened? I mean, there's the freeway is sacred, right? They were lucky because they began to dig under an arm of the freeway that belongs to the local municipality. They were also lucky, they realized, because they had begun to dig in a kind of Bermuda Triangle of jurisdiction, they said, between Port Authority, Airport Authority, 2 city districts, and a review board, a kind of corridor. So the kind of ambiguity of who claims this territory wasn't devised for them to enter into the system. So these are the institutional boundaries, right? Invisible boundaries that needed to be reorganized. This is what I'm saying. The Informal is about the kind of reorganization of imposed political and economic frameworks. This is the Praxis about it. It's not just precarious, funky Mexican markets everywhere. It is about the kind of intelligence of how to really enter into these reorganization logics. The next thing that they did as skaters was to organize and go to the city officials. They had to interview the city attorney and the city council that would take liability for this. And they began a process because the city told them, if you want to negotiate, you have to become an NGO. And as an NGO, they have to understand what the hell an NGO is and how it operates. They have to contact skateboarders from Seattle and Portland who have gone through the same experience so they can transfer that knowledge. This is the first thing about activist practices, about the exchange of knowledge. In this case, they have to become aware, they have to have budgets, a lawyer, construction insurance, they have to visit every department in the municipality that pertains to open space. They have to question the very definition of open space by the books, because they were saying, why can't there be other categories to enable transitional uses and so on? They have to understand every permit and its definition, and how this political jurisdiction, as fragmented as it was, also reflected the fragmentation of resources, budgets across departments that were not talking to each other. Okay, at the end of the day, they won the case, and I'm reducing it so grossly. They won the case, and they were able to build the skateboard park out of the transference of liability from the public to the semi-private, in a sense, by enabling kind of management of the space. So what I'm trying to suggest here again that the informal, sorry, yes?
I'm sorry, we've got competition here with the helicopter. This took place underneath a freeway?
Yes.
Are you talking about that? I see. And
yes.
And there was nobody could figure out who owned what of that? It was so sliced up by different agencies and municipalities? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, okay. And the teenagers began to stitch it all together into a project. So here the Informal begins with the act of transgression, right, an appropriation, but then it begins to trickle up in the kind of transformation of top-down the urban policy. This is an interesting issue. The Informal begins by asking those questions. Whose territory is it? And who owns the resources? And I think that retroactively we begin to produce a system that can enable other protocols. The conflict behind, and I offered briefly a conflict that was of interest years ago in Tijuana about maquiladoras in the slums, but the conflict in San Diego in the last years, even in the years of glamorous economy, was a conflict between lending and land use. So I was blown away that at a time when San Diego, downtown San Diego was exploding, right? Low interest rate enabling this incredible, again, successful development of luxury condo towers everywhere, stadiums, the kind of stool that you will see repeated in many American and global cities. Not one single affordable housing project had been built in many of these neighborhoods where I've been working. So I began to question this very simple premise, right? Why is it? Well, for a private developer, as you know it, to make it profitable to build in many of these neighborhoods, this developer would have to use or take advantage of tax credits, subsidies in a way. And to be competitive, in order to qualify for those tax credits, this developer would have to build at least 50 units of density. Well, guess what? 50 units are prohibited of density in many of these neighborhoods. Also mixed uses, you name it, right? So I'm thinking that at that point in this understanding of this catch-22, another type of role begins to emerge. Because what do I do as an architect? I go to the UCLA School of Architecture and invent this morphogenetic scheme that will camouflage somehow the problems of these backward economic and political frameworks? Or do I enter into the conflict and rethinking maybe zoning, again, less as a punitive tool to prevent socialization and maybe amplifying it, as we were talking earlier, as a generative tool that organizes activity or other things. So what other modalities of lending or zoning and what alternative performance can be produced? So this is one of the investigations that I wish I could tell you in more detail, but suffices to say that I think one of the most pressing interests in my practice of research and my team has been how to produce alternative performance, how to inject into the spreadsheet of the developer the informal economy, the kind of sweat equity, the type of social property conditions that exist on the ground, the kind of value of collaboration, the kind of, again, unquantifiable at times by certain financial protocols conditions. And I would love to, next time if you invite me, I would want to bring maybe more examples of that, those spreadsheets worked out as that have spatial consequences. And this is that relationship of economy to space. So the rethinking of ownership, right? How can we absorb the kind of entrepreneurship of the two women who rent a 3-bedroom apartment and transform it into an illegal nursery? How can they be represented by a non-profit organization through their social service budget and connected to other possibilities? So here is the other issue, is that these alternative performers cannot act on their own, enabling individuals only, but open up a space of representation. It is a political representation of this invisibility where other agencies begin to take. The mediating agencies that then begin to bundle all of this into maybe the stronger economic logics. The designing, again, of political and economic processes. I think there is a huge space of operation for architects here. We can, and I don't want to open this up too much because it can be controversial. Are you talking about social engineering? Well, maybe I am. In fact, it's necessary. How do we become the curators of those interfaces? The democratization of urban development. It's ridiculous that it's only one housing recipe, one economy of housing that has dominated our idea of the market. In the designing of new social contracts. I think this is a major pairing, right? It is not just, as Hernando de Soto might suggest, it's just about giving property titles to slum dwellers. It's also injecting the kind of social mediating tools that enable the guarantees of protection and so on. That pairing, of course, of social contracts. And so the project that has been essential and really arduous in the last 10 years has had to do with the transformation of zoning in these small neighborhoods of San Isidro next to the checkpoint, in collaboration with a non-profit organization called Casa Familiar. Finally, we're getting our permits to really finally get these projects built so that they can perform. But it began by a simple premise. How do we enable, as my client, if I can call it that, Andreas Correa once told me when I first met her, before you begin to design your projects, why don't we design together a micro-policy, she said. A kind of political and economic framework that can give sustainability to these projects in the long term. So again, the idea of a mediating agency between government, policy, and the community. The invisibility of those entrepreneurial, again, conditions. So we produced a mini micro-policy that we presented to Gail Goldberg, who was at some point the director of planning of San Diego, and who, she took our project, as a prototype, and of course she was fired. Came to Los Angeles, where you also fired. So the situation is that we presented this model. Okay, let's begin by mapping the encroachments. The non-profit becomes a repository of knowledge. Let's map all the illegal additions, all the illegal economies in that neighborhood. Again, the kind of confetti now turned into actual tangible conditions. But that necessitated a kind of interface with the community, other modes of participation, not the typical patronizing advocacy planning. What the community wants, we will go and draw it. I mean, I can talk a lot about that later, but give me a chance. I mean, so what I'm saying is, I'm interested in amplifying other artifacts, as I mentioned, in the Korea project, that tools that can mediate a more intelligent conversation. What is density? We had to create games for these community workshops, like this lady who, when I asked the question, what is density, and I asked, I brought a game with a table of 5,000 square feet parcels, pieces of wood symbolizing units, trees, and cars. And I asked my table, I was younger than you see, and said, build the densities, 15 units of density, what would you do? And she put one piece of wood on each parcel. This is the reality of her own block. Somebody else then put them against the property line so that maybe they can begin to share spaces. At some point, the lady was really excited, and in Spanish, she told me, I cannot believe it, Teddy. These houses are selfish. This is what the selfish notion came from, okay? She began to realize that in her own town in Guadalajara, Mexico, the block was not made of individual buildings, but of course by a larger building that had courtyards and the whole kind of traditional planning situation. But nevertheless, she began to understand or visualize a different conception of density, one that was about neighborhood collaboration, because the property owners were already engaging in collaborating by sharing some type of space, but also density not driven by objects, but by spaces. And the conversation was juicy. I mean, it was really interesting. And this series of terms began to enable a different type of legitimation that goes beyond the idea that a Mexican-American neighborhood has to camouflage itself with Aztec pyramids, okay, in terms of just style. I mean, as important as those emblems are, we are not really talking about the operational dimension of those images. What is really a more powerful instrument to speak of the identity of this community was that the community was already engaging in transactions with boundaries, with the negotiation of public and private, and collaboration. And to enable that as a device and not a style was really a kind of amazing opening. The second then was to present to the municipality this map and the idea that the non-profit organization was going to produce a protocol to engage those property owners that had the free units, the illegal units in the backyard, and to bring them into a kind of bundling of this series of additions and retrofits to enable the small residents as small developers with the non-profit organization. This social contract that would prevent gentrification. So a small-scale development. I would love to talk more about this in the context of realizing that in some of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Los Angeles, like in San Diego, maybe a new urbanist might call me disillusioned by the kind of Victorian homes and the picket fences. I'm sorry to suggest it. But what really makes them beautiful is that those were made of duplexes and fourplexes. That at some time in the history of this country, the financial institutions and the zoning institutions enabled small-scale development that produces, at some point that became out of control, of course, in the neoliberalization of the banking industry, the kind of consolidation of small lots into huge projects, you call it. But the small-scale development that can enable the non-profit to break apart the 50-unit-based tax subsidy into small pieces and to manage that in relationship to the property owners and to produce a kind of protocol. This is what I was talking about. The kind of distribution of microloans and the kind of pre-packaging of these and so on. And this is, again, I was talking to Tom over here, that the microloans have gotten a bad rap, how do you say that? And in reality it's because they just mirror a kind of neoliberal model, like loans to individuals as opposed to also pairing that with all the modes of management and so on. So parcels as micro-socioeconomic systems is what I'm talking about here in the context of that illegal Buddha condition. Sorry, what time is it?
1:30.
1:30. Very quickly, the performance of a parcel. I'm arriving a little bit to the specificity of the project. Casa Familiar began to purchase small parcels in this neighborhood. A community-based non-profit organization transformed into an alternative developer of affordable housing, conceiving the neighborhood as producer of new housing policy and economy, and designing small parcels that mobilize social entrepreneurship into new spaces of housing and so on. The first parcel they bought was this historic church in the neighborhood of San Isidro, and incrementally they began to purchase the land next door. Some had to do with vacant sites, and we began to anticipate the parcel, or to anticipate the kind of formation of new types of models of property. The reconception of ownership is fundamental here. The first task was to retrofit the church into an incubator. I'm interested in the incubating of the neighborhood, where the church became a kind of incubator of new programs by inviting architects and artists to design the kind of new programming that could be injected into these spaces. A series of social rooms that are equipped with a collective kitchen and other amenities. These are the spaces that are injected by the non-profit organization with a variety, again, of programs of interface to create this sort of relationship with the residents, but also with the community. Maybe Thursdays, this is where the workshops that they do every month take place in relationship to the church and the environments, or maybe Saturdays, this frames some of the informal markets that happen in the alley, enter into the parcel, into the other alley, or maybe the collective kitchens begin to support some of the already on-the-ground social and economic entrepreneurship. So again, here the void is less about just adding more house by the local economy, as much as that is the case here too, but also is the site made available for programs that enable socialization and economy. So let's imagine the church and these small spaces as the small infrastructure in a small parcel for the housing. Now the housing needs to be stitched through these environments. I'm again arguing that it is about injecting housing in the support systems, what really is the point here. So the first typology has to do with a building having given to young couples or single mothers with children, and they, the people or the residents here, are made co-participants in co-managing some of these programs. That raises a level of accountability and participation. Typology 2 is a duplex given to two practitioners of social practice in art in the town, where the project itself is about producing these interfaces so they can participate by exchanging rent for social service and enable pedagogical models to produce that interface as well. This video is going way too slow. I have to accelerate it. But again, the collaboration between, imagine these buildings beginning to collaborate with each other, okay? Kind of that those adjacencies are calibrated to produce the types of programming. So the artists begin to produce that kind of relationship of art and community or urban pedagogical models, let's say, as a device. But this idea of that, again, is not a symbolic image of the community what is at stake here, but its operative dimension, its participatory conditions. On the other end of the parcel, large families with grandmothers in these larger units that have kitchens that are shared. Again, the idea here is that they don't only rent or own, but they partner. They have to partner with a non-profit to enable small projects of entrepreneurship as well. And the final one has to do with a series of small accessory buildings. As you know, an amazing, incredible missed opportunity in the code. These are, if a building in San Diego is no larger than 120 square feet, 10 by 12, if you give that a 15-foot ceiling height, a utility sink and a big window, is a beautiful room. It's a beautiful studio. And these can accommodate extended families for flexible uses again. The kind of narrativization of these environments. But in essence, what I'm trying to say, because I'm running out of time, is that in a small parcel, we find the coexistence of different housing economies, catering to different types of lifestyle configurations and relationships, but the non-profit acts as a curator, not only the provider, the curator of series of relationships. So density as an amount of social exchanges per acre, and housing as a system of economic and cultural interactions in a sense. That is really what has made this project important to us. The notion that housing cannot be sustainable on its own, but needs to be plugged with the support systems, enable other ideas of zoning as generative tools, and of course, closing the gap, I think the fundamental project in our time. The site of intervention, I think, is the gap that exists and has been perpetuated between institutions and projects. And how to claim a kind of new civic imagination. You know, I had two other things, but I will not show them. But let me just finish quickly with a little video, 2 minutes, of an event that I curated. I love to do this also events at the border that are curating conversations and emerged from the political equator notion that I came up with a few years ago. Simply, what would happen if I was to connect San Diego, Tijuana across a straight line in the world atlas, and I was blown away what came up. A global corridor of conflict. Just like my local corridor of conflict that I showed in the beginning, I want to end to the idea that it is not only about the micro, but how the micro or the logic of these neighborhoods begin to allows the reimagination of the region. It is about a kind of neighborhood-based kind of planning, if you can call it that. But I had to really begin to catapult these issues to the global. So I was blown away that between the 30 to 30-50 degrees north parallel, we find this corridor that links San Diego, Tijuana with Ceuta and Melilla, which is the main border between North Africa and Europe, main funnel of migration from North Africa to Europe, the Israeli-Palestinian border. I even put in my political equator the huge transformations of the Chinese metropoli, okay? Because it's equally driven by urbanities of labor and surveillance. And in that sense, this political equator, of course, the Spring Revolution is happening somewhere there. I don't want to get too much into this, I'm sorry, but the climatic equator. I mean, it was Bob Minister Fuller who said it a long time ago in out of his maximum kind of image of the world. But any conversation in our time had to begin by understanding the conflict between geopolitical borders, marginal communities, and natural resources. And if you really think about it, much of the untapped natural resources are beneath communities, marginal communities, and this is the next stage. So the new correspondences between global and local are necessary. Of course, obviously top-down and bottom-up, formal and informal, and political and the natural. Let me just end with the Political Equator 3, which is a conference that I produced in last June, and the idea was, let's bring the conversation outside these rooms. Let's go out there. Let's be in the midst of the dramatic images surrounding us. That has to reorient our conversations. So I began to suggest a kind of mobile conference across the border. And the topic, this last one, was the Tijuana-San Diego watershed system. 75% of it is in Tijuana. It's truncated by the stupidity of that Homeland Security new wall. And if we begin to zoom in, I realized that I find the two neighborhoods I've been working in the last years. Okay, San Isidro, right against the checkpoint, this red line is a 150-foot wide band that Homeland Security claimed as its own jurisdiction after 9/11, and now systematically destroying every single transborder canyon by damming it with dirt to construct an uninterrupted highway of surveillance. And the other is the canyon, the Laureles Canyon, which is an 85,000 feet long that crashes against that wall, and flanking, these two neighborhoods flank the Tijuana River estuary. This is the image I began with earlier today, and the Tijuana River entering into San Diego through the estuary. Of course, the checkpoint is right at the intersection between the natural and the political. So we wanted to produce a project that is going to relate these two communities that I'm seeing again as fertile laboratories to rethink housing and environmental infrastructure. That the slum, the poor slum, can be the protector of the estuary, and the poor neighborhood on this side can be what anticipates the density in San Diego of Tijuana. So this collaboration with these two environments, we produced a project which was amazing. I mean, to negotiate a 24-hour permit with Homeland Security and Mexican immigration to transform a drain recently built by Homeland Security into an official port of entry from the United States into Mexico, to bring the public, the audience, to actually be present and visualize the moment of collision between informality, environmental systems, militarization, and so on. And of course, that's the official entry here, and that will be the extra-official entry. And this is exactly where we put a tent. This is Homeland Security, the slum crashing against the wall, and the estuary in the distance. The Political Equator 3, realizing again out of that proximity. But this is not the place. I mean, of course, these conditions of collision are reproduced everywhere. But here are dramatized. Look at this. A few meters from the border, you find this precariousness. And now when Homeland Security is building these new dams, they have intensified the flow of waste from the slum into the estuary. So they are contaminating the estuary. So what I'm trying to say is that the conference had at its very core the kind of amplification, the stupidity of certain policies that seek security, but in so doing, the kind of stupid logics of infrastructural systems that they're imposing, they are dramatizing the sense of insecurity because they're undermining the functionality of the watershed system that will eventually produce socioeconomic stability and insecurity. So we produce models as visualizations. This is the tent. We got a permit. It took us a year. Oscar Romo, who is the director of the estuary, was essentially this relationship with Homeland Security. We brought different stakeholders, the Homeland Security, the activists, just to similar to the project in Korea. Let's talk about the issues. And from here, from this tent where we have this sort of performance, this is what is helpful about teaching in a visual arts program. Because this was kind of camouflage as a performance, and of course, the Homeland Security let us do this. This is the dam of the canyon, recently built. The drain at the end, on the other side, the slope that collides with the estuary. And here is the video, and I want to end with this. Basically, as I mentioned, after the performance of the model, the audience, 200 plus people, many activists, artists, scholars, people from the community. Of course, we had to have our passports. The only thing is that this was going to be truly an official port of entry. So Mexican immigration collaborated with Homeland Security to allow this. So the Mexican immigration officers would be waiting for us on the south side of the drain to stamp our passports, and then we would enter the slum. While Homeland Security was on the hills looking at us, we're walking again towards the drain. Again, the visualization of conflict might suggest retroactively understanding the institutional thinking behind these collisions. but also literally is to be there. I mean, to really try to enable a conversation that begins by visualizing, the collision of those ecologies. So here's when everything was very formal at some point because we had to be in line. Everybody, they called our names in alphabetical order. I'm using a probe camera on my helmet. I'm coming in, one of the first ones, just because my name is C. And I'm there going through the drain, and Mexican immigration is waiting for us on the other side. And as they are stamping my passport, the sewer is flowing from the slum into the estuary. And here is where our conference took place, in the very midst of these, again, conditions. And believe me, it just makes a difference. And the stakeholders that were engaged, and this is where our project in the canyon began, by connecting to this non-profit that was there. This was the catalyst to begin the conversation. And finally, this is probably at the interest of all of us. How do we reconnect urban policy with the collectivist imagination? Thank you very much. Oh my God. I'm sorry, it's just that, but anyway, is there still time for questions?
We do have 5 to 10 minutes. We could take 1 or 2.
What time is it?
It's 1:43.
It's a problem. To hijack the microphone. Any questions?
I could go.
Yes.
I know this kind of talk for us in the planning program, these are sort of issues that we all very centrally think of. You also lecture tremendously in architecture programs. How do these issues resonate with a architectural-based audience generally in the States?
It's a kind of two type of reactions. I mean, on one hand, it's similar to here, right? I mean, the division of the architecture school, because it's all about this hyper-formalist project. And this is what we're talking about in launch, right? If this sort of, how would I call it, this algorithmic-based morphogenetics or parametrics could do to the social and the political what they do to form, that would get interesting. But at times, that distance and the separation between design and what could be social agency is perpetuated everywhere. So whenever I talk maybe about these issues, you don't want to be an architect, you are anti-aesthetics, you are polarizing the debate, you probably want to be a politician or a social worker. Ultimately, I'm just saying let's reorient our gaze to other sides of the investigation. And that embedded in this marginalization of these logics, there is an experimental and fertile ground to rethink form itself, to rethink the design, to rethink the sort of expansion of the organization system. So yes, at times there is a kind of very, very kind of polarizing reaction in terms of. On the other, I think that it is mostly driven by students who are definitely dissatisfied, many of them. And when I taught at Harvard, I remember, after I presented in the vertical studios, when everybody who is going to teach presents a topic, and I was preceded by people who were designing big airports in Shanghai and this, and then I was doing a little project in Nicaragua. And so I said to everybody, please don't think that I just wanted my studio the Che Guevara's of urbanization. Of course, I ended up getting the Che Guevara's of the PSD who were completely dissatisfied with. So it is driven by the students who are thirsty for, again, other ways of approaching this. And it's really a sad thing that activism or social and political issues are always seen as lacking in the kind of imagination. And it probably has to do with certain schools of urban policy and all of that having also remained a little static, just understanding it from a kind of bureaucratic point of view, and lacking the kind of creative at times, processes that could link it to design. It's a kind of, so anyway, it's a divided response. But they continue to divide me, so that's good. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question about the land that was used in order to do this. Was it owned? And if it was, who came up with the money to purchase it in order to be able to do the improvements that you're talking about?
Yes, it's been, part of the, at least for the Casa Familiar projects, it's been an incremental, very creative project of cross-subsidy. where money that comes from funding, even though it has to be targeted to do this, they're reoriented or redirected to buy this, so that they can build equity to do that. Part of the project, or the problem, of many of social agencies is that they are restricted by the types of funding they get to only operate within that narrow margin of, again, program. So they have been a little bit unorthodox in terms of really mobilizing money. Yes.
Is it individually owned, or were the monies given by the government, or through grants, or
for the project
funding?
here? No, for the project here. For the project here, it's becoming a really difficult thing because it's been about curating a variety of sources of funding.
Right.
A lot of different funding strands. We didn't want to, in fact, negotiate with the government at this moment. And I believe in government, okay? An intelligent government.
Right.
But in this case, negotiating with the housing authority or housing, the housing authority in San Diego is just incredibly, recently they said we are going to give you subsidies for this after, the loading of redevelopment agencies, which, okay, maybe it makes sense for downtowns, but when it comes to neighborhoods like this, it was a blow. But we are going to give you that if you reduce the cost per unit, the cost of, because the math, the kind of spreadsheet was lumping all the cost of the social rooms, the church, the gardens, all these extra amenities that we're trying to say is the basis for the housing to be inserted here. All that cost was lumped in the per unit cost because all they can think of is units. And so all of a sudden we find ourselves that we don't want to negotiate with you because it's way too many strings attached. So how do we do now?
Right.
So we're negotiating with this foundation and my community with this. For these first projects, we should have been, again, part of the challenge here is that we want this to be prototypes that can be reproduced.
So where did the funding come from?
That shouldn't be just one-liners in terms of, only here. Eventually we want to engage other processes that have to do with maybe enabling levels of economy, as I mentioned earlier, to be part of the pro forma. But at this point, it is primarily coming from, in fact, normative lending in terms of just some pockets of lending, and we are trying to stratify the project so that many of the pieces can be funded in a kind of an orthodox way. For example, probably the only leverage right now that we are getting is this connection to this foundation in New York City who has really been created and trying to really inject itself in providing that support. But the aspiration is that the second time we do this, we don't want to depend on that other money, but can the neighborhood become a developer? See, this is something about San Diego too, is that when you find somebody like Ted Smith, who has been enabling architecture students to become developers of their own work, suggesting that, again, the site of intervention is a pro forma itself. It's an interesting thing what you can do when you realize that your own services as an architect are already equity, and the price of the land can really produce the basis for, the development happening.
So it was all private funding then?
No, it's again, some will be tax credits, some will be
for this project.
Yes, the issue about the small scale is that we can assign different nomenclatures or categories, right? Another thing that I was going to say is the issue of a double economy, similar to the Alejandro Aravena model of Elemental, right, where you have solid void. So there is a specialized construction of the contractor, but then there is a space left for the local labor to fill it. Even though for many systems it's just about units, in this case that becomes also an essential thing. What can post-occupancy issues can be generated by the community? So we are also trying to decentralize that. So it's becoming the kind of decentralization of the kind of funding mechanisms. So it's a mixture of private, public, and the revenue itself that the non-profit has generated as a developer.
Yes.
Yeah. A couple of times in your discussion, the issue of collaboration came up, and I wondered, which is completely antithetical, of course, to the American individualism, the market-driven urbanism where the developer becomes really the city builder. So is the message that comes out of your talk that if you really want to affect change, a lot of us I believe that there are a lot of problems with market-driven urbanism, but at the same time, it's almost impossible to change in this era of late capitalism. If you want to affect change, you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it as a non-profit because you lack the resources. If you are the public sector, you lack the resources. You really, the message you are giving us that we really need to have some strategic alliances. So if you want to affect change at a bit of a larger scale and not only at the scale of the lot or even one particular neighborhood. Is that?
I could say that is the case. I was actually driving my daughter to school this morning, and she asked me, because we were talking about the State of the Union speech. I said, okay, please, just do it. Just do it. And she said, Dad, what is the ideal system? And it just came out to me. I don't want to sound wishy-washy. I was talking to Tom about this. Yes, the individual entrepreneurship needs to be supported and so on, but not, of course, at the expense of the kind of, how would I call it, abandoning of the collective responsibility. So how to enable that synergy? I think, again, we have gone from hyper-collectivity to hyper-privatization and nothing in between. I don't want to sound, I think that part of it, at times, what comes from our academic circles, or even about kind of strange notions of resistance, throw the baby with the bathwater. And I'm thinking that there's still, within certain institutional frameworks, there are pieces that can be taken as devices. When somebody gets completely kind of maybe satisfied by saying, oh, it's private funding, or this. I think that we need to generally, but with the logic that really supports particular actors. You know what I mean? So this notion that the neighborhood could become the developer of its own. My aspiration truly is to become a developer of social housing. To really develop within particular logics of development, through this slum where we're beginning to work, and to produce particular labor logics. The workers who live in this slum, who are working at the Hilton Maquiladoras, are already building their own housing, but it's not really amplified, right, as a kind of device. And so I'm thinking, yes, it's about creating new ways of triangulating between government, between certain, not all private entities are evil, you know what I mean? I think that, I'm sorry to end with such a weird kind of situation here, but I'm thinking that just like the kind of syndrome that has emerged from, because friends of mine in Occupy Wall Street, it's like this sort of tendency, okay, let's erase, let's sort of throw the baby with the bathwater, right, because institutions are evil. Yes, in fact, my last image was rethinking of institutions, right, because everything of that type of synergy has been happening in Latin America. New modes of participation, the reinvention of certain political frameworks to rethink infrastructure that reconnects social activism with government policy and the private sector entering. Just like in this country, after the Great Depression, there was a rallying of institutions to really invest in not only in the public imagination, as presented by the Second Bill of Rights, but really in terms of infrastructure, education, everything that we're not talking about right now. And so I'm thinking, even though certain philanthropic aspects in the history of the country, brings the same people who became billionaires because of oil, now they want to be the ones building the libraries. But there was something interesting. I wanted to, at some point, maybe I can come back to this, talk about the work that we're beginning in Medellin, Colombia, because we continue to see the amazing successful images, but we never really talk about the processes that are behind those images. What made those library parks? What made that mayor decide to build in the marginal zones? In fact, when I got there, thinking that I was going to come in and steal the ideas to bring to Tijuana, I realized that in Medellin they were able to do all that because most of that revenue comes from empresas públicas de Medellin or Medellin Public Works, which is as if the city of Los Angeles owned telecommunications, energy, and water utilities. And all the dividends of that was poured back into the city. So imagine that, a kind of a private, and they, in their organizational logic, they work with a kind of transparency at times of private corporation in a sense, but with the public mandate. So this is strange alliances. When I was there, I was also beginning to freak out because they were talking about, they called non-profit organizations private agencies. In other words, we need to demystify that type of polarity that has, I don't want to sound awfully wishy-washy about it, but I think that the project is about all the categories in between.